أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى أصحابه وعلى جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين. قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد جاءتكم بينة من ربكم فأوفوا الكيل والميزان ولا تبخسوا الناس أشياءهم ولا تفسدوا في الأرض بعد إصلاحها ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. وقال النبي حبيبنا المصطفى صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى أهل بيته وأصحابه بادروا بالأعمال الصالحة أو كما قال صدقت يا رسول الله. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, all praise is due to our Creator, our Cherisher, our Nourisher and our Sustainer. We bear witness there's none worthy of worship but Allah. And we bear witness, we believe in all the prophets. And we bear witness that Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, is the final of all the emissaries of Allah. Respected ulama, hufaz, elders, brothers and sisters, respected youth, I greet you with the Islamic universal greeting of peace. May the peace, the mercy and the blessings of Allah be upon each and every one present here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Say Allahumma barik lana fi Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, bless us with this month of Sha'ban and let us be of those who reach the month of Ramadan. Today is the last Jum'ah before Ramadan. And next week, this time, the global ummah will insha'Allah be in the mode of fasting. And we know that fasting or siyam is one of the fundamental pillars of Islam. An important component of our ibadah. It is an integral program for the spiritual and moral enhancement of human consciousness, for the improvement of human character, the promotion of human welfare and welfare of communities, and for the advancement of societies. Values are essential for our spirituality, for our morality, and for our character. So whether we exit Ramadan better than we enter Ramadan, because we have been through many Ramadans, but whether we exit Ramadan better than we enter Ramadan depends tremendously on how we prioritize and how we actualize our values. It depends on how we prioritize and how we actualize the values that we have. And as we approach Ramadan, this month of high intensity ethical training, let us mindfully reflect on the fact that those who are fasting are on a journey, what the Quran refers to as as-sa'ihun, spiritual travelers on a transcendent journey. And the question is for each one of us, journeying towards what? And this is where fundamental values are significant, because many of us have gone through siyam, gone through qiyam, but have we come out better after Ramadan than we were before Ramadan? Are we better human beings now for all the Ramadans that have passed, or are we just where we were before all those Ramadans? Values are significant, because values help us figure out what we want out of life. Values help us behave in a way that matches what we want to do and who we would want to become. And when we are faced with challenges, It is our values that guide and inform our decisions. Living by our higher values requires moral maturity. People are mature in age, they can be intellectually mature, but not necessarily morally mature. Living by our higher values requires moral maturity, and moral maturity entails taking responsibility for our own lives, making rational decisions that reflect the best of who we are and the best of what we can offer. And the yardstick of that maturity is personal integrity, istiqamah. The whole notion of values in Islam is called qiyam, and istiqamah, uprightness. Applying basic values, fundamental values to our decision-making process allows our personality to be guided, whether consistently good, partially good, or always good, or never good. By the way, when I say values, are not those things which we say that sounds nice. We must really look at what our values are that we live by. In Islam, values are embedded in ihsan, in goodness. It's premised and motivated by ikhlas, by sincerity of intention and genuineness of purpose. And it's manifested in amalu salihat, sound, good, beneficial deeds, and is always in pursuit of taqwa, righteous Allah consciousness. And this taqwa, this righteous Allah consciousness, it is the pinnacle of human spiritual and moral development, as the Quran says, "Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum." The most honorable and noble of human beings in the estimation of Allah are those with the highest degree of taqwa. Besides being the pinnacle of human spiritual and moral development, that's taqwa, it is also the primary objective of our fasting, as ordained by Allah not only to our times but even those before us. Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Fasting is obligatory upon us, prescribed for us. Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. It was prescribed to generations and communities through prophets before. And all of them, whichever way they fasted, by whatever means, whatever times, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ remains the common factor, the objective, in order that you may pursue the path to taqwa. So fasting and the pursuit of taqwa are highly personalized. Nobody can see you fasting. Nobody can evaluate your taqwa. فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى. Only Allah knows whether I'm fasting or not, and only Allah knows my degree of taqwa or not. So, fasting and the pursuit of taqwa, these are highly personalized, yet they are integral to the overall entrenched notion of ihsan, by which all values are evaluated in Islam. Fasting is thus not merely the abstention from food and drink, it is also the abstention from indifference towards the dignity of people. And that's why you find numerous ahadith. مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ, hadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Look how Allah relates these things. مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَلَعَمِلَ بِهِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ فِي أَنْ يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. Whoever does not give up making false allegations or statements against people, who does not give up doing oppressive and wrongful deeds, who does not give up speaking bad about others, whoever does not give up behaving ignorantly and foolishly, Allah does not see the need why He gives up food and drink. He may as well eat. It doesn't mean you shouldn't fast because you're a weak Muslim. I'm not saying that. But the hadith says, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَهُ. If you don't give up these things, lying, backbiting, cheating, character assassinating, try to belittle people, if you don't give that up, the question the hadith asks, Allah wants to know, why are you giving up food and drink? Another hadith, الساعي على الأرملة والمسكين. Hadith documented in the Sahih of Imam al-Bukhari. الساعي على الأرملة والمسكين كالمجاهد في سبيل الله وكالقائم الذي لا يفطر وكالصائم الذي لا يفطر. The person who runs with a degree of social consciousness towards helping the orphan or the widow or those who are distressed in need is like a mujahid in the path of Allah, like a person who prays and he prays all night, and like a person who fasts and fasts all day, every day. See how Allah links that with fasting and prayer. In fact, the best evidence of taqwa, though we say we can't measure taqwa, we can't say someone, but for Allah, the best evidence of taqwa is اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. Ensure that you are just, for the manifestation of social justice is the closest expression to taqwa or to righteousness or to God consciousness or to piety, if you will. So we cannot truly be living Ramadan with all our personal attempts at a heightened level of spiritual consciousness, recalibrating our moral through siyam and qiyam, mashallah, without societal consciousness, without being concerned about the suffering of those who are desperate, those who are oppressed and dispossessed. Look at our magnificent country, with its hallowed history of noble souls who fought against injustice and discrimination, now ruled by selfish, self-centered leaders who have rendered our beloved country into a virtual failed state. South African economy is in tatters, darkened by load shedding, burdened with unemployment, overwhelmed by crime, led by the incompetent, dominated by corruption. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. Corruption appears on land because of people's deeds, because of the wrongdoings of people. The inability or the unwillingness of the authorities to address the evident corruption, increasing lawlessness, growing inequality, all of this, Allah forbid, but may lead to major civil strife in this beautiful country. إنما السبيل على الذين يظلمون الناس ويبغون في الأرض بغير الحق. In that case, the blame is against those who perpetuate wrongdoing and insolently transgress through the land without any justification. So as a collective Muslim community, we have that moral responsibility. Our values should motivate us to ensure that our leadership, that those who are in leadership positions are worthy of such leadership. And one of the characteristics is that the people who are in a position of leadership should be those who serve the people, as the Rasul said, Sayyidul Qawm Khadimuhum. If they're not serving the interests of the people, they're not worthy of being your leaders. The second point is, those of us who are by means, whether finance or otherwise, who are by means to generously avail what we have to be able to alleviate the suffering of people and to elevate the people and to empower them. And then for our Muslim community, not to be distracted by unnecessary divisions, but to be united by the Quranic slogan, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold fast unto the bond of Allah and do not be divided. And thereby consult constructively, make shura, in other words, with one another to resolve the pressing issues that not only face the Muslim community, but the community at large. Don't forget, we are khayra ummah ukhrijat linnas. Best of communities, not because we are Muslim, because of our duty and responsibility, because of our values, to be a means of benefit to humanity at large. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said so beautifully about this idea of leadership and about the generosity of those and the idea of shura, which I mentioned. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, hadith documented by Imam at-Tirmidhi, إذا كان أمراؤكم خياركم وأغنياؤكم سمحاؤكم وأمركم شورى بينكم فظهر الأرض خير لكم من بطنها. When your leaders are those who are the best among you. When the best among you are your leaders. When the rich among you are those who are generous. And when your affairs are conducted by mutual consultation among you, then to be alive on the surface of the earth is better for you than to be dead and buried in it. As for the improvement of ourselves, moving from social consciousness, Let this coming month of Ramadan truly be a month of high intensity moral development and spiritual rejuvenation. One of the numerous ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, who said, "Awsani Rabbi bil ikhlasi fi sirri wal alaniya." That's the personal level. Because all these values begin from within. أوصاني ربي بالإخلاص في السر والعلانية والعدل في الرضا والغضب والقصد في الفقر والغنى وأن أعفو عمن ظلمني وأصل من قطعني وأعطي من حرمني. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi said, Allah has advised me, and I advise you regarding this, to be sincere in private and in public. In other words, sincerity is your mode. In private and in public. To be just whether things are in your favor or not in your favor. To be moderate in times when you have plenty and even in times when you don't have so much. To have the capacity for those who may have erred and those who have wronged. To be generous to those even who may not help you, but you be generous to them. And to keep relationship even with those people who may not keep relationship with you. And it begins, of course, with the family. So let us hasten to do good. As the hadith in Sahih Muslim, بَادِرُوا بِالْأَعْمَالِ الصَّالِحَةِ, rush, hasten to do good deeds. وَأَحْسِنُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, for surely Allah loves the doers of good. So let this Ramadan, let us make a commitment, a solemn commitment, to cleanse our hearts and minds of all base thoughts and destructive emotions. Destructive emotions. Families are destroyed because of destructive emotions. The more authority you have in an organization, institution, or family, the more it behooves you to be able to control your emotions. Let us rid ourselves the moral disease, all of us. Let us rid ourselves of the moral disease of pride, of jealousy, of malice, backbiting, vengefulness, vindictiveness if you want, self-righteousness, dishonesty, pretension, vanity, selfishness, vainglory, greed, bigotry, hatred, egoism, arrogance, obsessive love for this world, manipulation of power, and the abuse of Allah's favors. Whatever Allah gives is a test. The more you have, the bigger the test. Let us instead fill our hearts with a positive, inspirational motivation that leads us to constructive deeds, informed by our values, aiming for taqwa, ihsan in our heart, deeds that reflect our iman, deeds done with purity of intentions, deeds emanating from empathy, from compassion, kindness, truthfulness, trustworthiness, humility, sincerity. All these are characteristics that reflect ihsan. And when I say ihsan, I mean that confluence, that coming together of good deeds emanating from a sound mind, motivated by a pure spirit. And that pure spirit of the heart is the passport to Jannah. وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. Do not come on the day of judgment. In other words, the literal translation, prepare yourself, and Ramadan is the ideal time. وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. Prepare yourself not to be of those who will grieve on the day of a resurrection. On that day when neither your property, your possession, your positions will benefit you whatsoever, or your titles or whatever it may be. What rather benefits you is only coming to Allah biqalbin salim, with a pure and sound heart. When that is good, as the passport, now we check your visa. So, if we truly engage our hearts, inshallah, it will open our minds and elevate our insight, evoking our higher consciousness. And then we can see our acts beyond the mere rituals. And the Allah consciousness is required for taqwa is facilitated through ihsan. Taqwa facilitated through ihsan. And how does it link? This higher level of consciousness, this obedience to Allah, this righteousness, this Allah consciousness, through ihsan. Al-ihsan wa an ta'bud Allah ka'annaka tarah. Ihsan is that you are in obedience to Allah as if you are witnessing Him. For indeed, He's ever observant of you. At a personal level, let our Ramadan journey be steps towards a better self. You see, our tomorrows are determined by the steps we take each day. It's the todays that determine the value of tomorrows. Let every suhoor and every iftar be a time for introspection. And realize that every sunset is one less day to live. But also, every sunrise gives us one more day to hope. Even if we have sinned yesterday, tomorrow is the sunrise, the hope that inshallah we'll make tawbah and Allah will forgive us. So savor every step. Make every fast and every day of fasting count. Treat every moment with respect. For we do not know how many more moments exist for us before all our moments in this world are up. How many dear ones who have passed on in recent months did not know last year that this time that they would witness or not witness this coming month of Ramadan. And who knows, those of us who are here today for Jum'ah may not be here next week. May Allah preserve us. Though our yesterdays have passed, those yesterdays are alive in our hearts because of memories. And our tomorrows are anticipated by our hopes. Therefore, make every day of Ramadan a means of a great memory for the future, so that tomorrow does not become a time for regret. And remember, it's all about purity, it's all about goodness. Let each one ask, how many Ramadans have passed? And let each one ask, how many Ramadans do I actually still have left? Do not leave Ramadan saying, I wish I had done that. Rather conclude Ramadan saying, I'm glad I did that. It's all about purification, about goodness, about sincerity, about higher values, about pursuit of taqwa. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى وَذَكَرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى. Successful in their pursuit will be those who purify themselves, ever conscious of Allah. And the dua the Rasul made, and I leave you with the dua. Allahumma ati nafsi taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. O Allah, grant my inner self, grant my soul, grant my being its capacity for piety and purify it. O Allah, you are the best to purify, for you are the guardian and you are the protector. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.